Why do so many guys stay stuck over that 15% body fat no matter how hard they try? They lose some fat, they build some muscle, but it's never enough to actually see that visible definition. Well, in this video, I'm breaking down and I'm ranking the 5 biggest mistakes that stop guys from ever getting below that 15% body fat. And I'm doing it with insights from some of YouTube's top fitness minds. So by the end, you'll know exactly what works and what does not to finally get lean without the gym bro routine. So first up, we've got William Lee, and he's about to help us beat that skinny fat problem.
King, if you're skinny fat,
Google daily caloric needs calculator, enter your information. This is going to give you a rough estimate of how many calories you're going to have to eat to maintain your body weight. But you don't want to maintain your body weight. You want to eat at a slight caloric surplus of around 200 calories. So get that number, add 200 to it, and then this is your goal of calories that you want to eat every day.
So basically go on a bulk and trust the process. Yeah, classic gym bro logic. But this advice, it will keep you stuck. William's whole idea is that if you're skinny fat, a calorie surplus will magically build muscle while burning fat at the same time. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. In fact, you should do the exact opposite and go into a calorie deficit like this guy instead. Because 1, if you're skinny fat, you do not need a calorie surplus to build muscle. You can easily build muscle in a calorie deficit. 2, fat loss is way faster than muscle growth, so you'll actually start looking way better sooner. And 3, the biggest reason to not go on a bulk with William's calorie surplus, if you're over 15% body fat, gaining more fat now makes both future fat loss and muscle growth way harder. Let me explain. Higher body fat equals more systemic inflammation because belly fat means more IL-6 in your system, which directly disrupts muscle growth. Also, fat makes you insulin resistant at the level of the muscle, meaning your body, it becomes worse at using nutrients to build muscle. Plus, the more fat that you carry, the less growth hormone you produce. And less growth hormone, it means less muscle building potential. And the biggest killer, lower testosterone. Simply put, more belly fat equals less testosterone because your belly fat is loaded with aromatase enzymes that actually convert your testosterone into estrogen. Now, bulking when you're skinny fat, that's some gym bro noise that'll keep you stuck over 15% body fat forever. So let's spin that wheel of gym bro justice. Gym bro thrown. Go on, William, get out of here. Next up, we've got Hudson from the Buff Dudes, and he's hitting on something we can all relate to.
It was just the stress of everything I was going through. I thought, I'm just gonna use food as comfort, and I am going to comfort the out of myself. And that is exactly what I did. And the results were insane. I would just look at myself in awe every morning as I continued to balloon to a size that I had never gotten to prior.
Simply put, too much stress and food became that coping mechanism. But there's a ton of advice on how to fix emotional eating, like keep a mood diary, identify your triggers, or be kind to yourself. But this just slaps a label on it. It doesn't solve it. Oh, I have that thing, emotional eating. Sure, but guess what? Food affects all of our emotions. Because when you eat high sugar, high fat, insanely delicious foods, your brain gets this giant dopamine hit, so we get flooded with these feelings of pleasure and reward. Yeah, sounds pretty emotional, right? So instead of tiptoeing around the problem, here's what actually works in real life. 1, drop that all or nothing mindset. 1 slip up, it does not ruin your progress. So you had some Cheetos, so what? Enjoy them. Just eat a little less later on, because the problem isn't one snack. The problem is turning that one snack into a full weekend binge that destroys your progress. 2, change your environment. Just remove those trigger foods, because if it's not there, you cannot eat it. Simple. And if you really want it, sure, you can DoorDash it, but by the time it arrives, that craving will probably have faded, along with the urge to do it again. 3, get real accountability. Hudson fixed his stress eating by going on a 12-week program with his brother Brandon, and guess what?
In a 3-month period of time, I was able to get back to where I was prior and even better.
Accountability works. In fact, studies show that having someone watching you makes you 95% more likely to stay on track. Stress eating, that is a battle that you have to stay on top of, because the second you slip back into those old habits, it's game over. And that's why dealing with stress eating is a hit or miss problem. And if you're on a body transformation journey, or you're just thinking about getting started, I go live every Sunday from Austin, Texas, helping you kickstart your fitness for the week the anti-gym bro way in real time. And this is your personal invite to train with me live in the AGB 105 Workout Club. So if you want to check that out, or you just want more fitness intel like this, then go ahead and subscribe. Now, this one is a bit crazy. So James Lee, he just dropped some insane news about how big food is hacking weight loss drugs.
So there's a food laboratory in Northern California called Matson that is, quote unquote, creating the future of food. And right now, their clients, Big Food, is asking them to do experiments that will reformulate ingredients so that their food can bypass the effects of Ozempic, Wegovy, and other GLP-1 weight loss drugs.
They're literally re-engineering food to make sure it still triggers cravings, even if you're on a drug that's supposed to reduce hunger. That is insane. And it's because for the first time in forever, people are actually buying less ultra-processed junk food, and the food industry is panicking. So they've come up with a shiny new label for their latest Frankenstein products, GLP-1 optimized foods. Now, I used to work as a food scientist, and this is exactly why I left the industry. See, when I worked at Cadbury's, I saw firsthand how the food industry hijacks your brain. My job? Engineer that perfect bliss point, that irresistible point that keeps you craving more without even realizing why. But these GLP-1 optimized foods, this is some next level food hacking, and the only way to win? Whole foods. I know, it sounds obvious, but with life moving fast, eating whole foods most of the time can actually feel harder than ever. Which is why you need a go-to whole food system, and here's how I do it. So simply make a master list of whole food ingredients and then mix and match them using a matrix like this to create easy and tasty meals. And if you want mine, you can grab it in the description below. I want to put it as an undeniable winner, but 100% whole foods is not realistic for most, so strong contender tier for this one. Now, we've got Mike Thurston, and he's out here doing some cardio.
Sprint training. Great way to obviously burn calories, but also to build up your conditioning. It's a great way of doing high intensity interval training because you'll be doing the all out sprint for around 10-15 seconds, rest, recover, and then repeat.
Right, we've all heard this before, but let me ask you, how many of you have actually seen great results from being in a heavy calorie deficit and dragging yourself down to a track for a few rounds of 10-second sprints?
Round 3, it's definitely getting progressively harder each time. Kind of feel like I need more rest.
Yeah, this was definitely recorded for some ripped and shredded B-roll. Now, let's get one thing clear. Sprint training, it's amazing for explosive power. But sprinting in a heavy deficit, that's a horrible idea. Because one, in a cut, your recovery bucket is already drained. Because your allostatic load, aka your total body stress, is already sky high in a deficit, and now you're throwing high impact sprinting on top of it. Yeah, that's a recipe for injury, and injuries always lead to falling off track and ending up back at square one. 2, sprints, they're for performance, not fat loss. When you're low on fuel, your power output just tanks and your form falls apart. So worst of all, you're actually burning hardly any calories now anyway. Plus, look, Mike is spending his whole workday in the sun sprinting for content, whereas you're trying to squeeze in sprint workouts first thing in the morning or after a full day sitting at a desk working all day, all while in a calorie deficit. That is just a recipe for burnout, injury, and zero progress. Look, in a deficit, you're much better off just getting in an extra 5k steps, because walking is restorative for your body and will likely burn as many, if not more calories than calorie deficit sprinting. So yeah, sprints in a deficit, that's used with caution tier. And if you're new here, my name is Tim. I'm a food scientist and personal trainer, now based in Austin, Texas. And I specialize in helping guys hit that 10 to 15% body fat without letting fitness take over their life. So if you want to get fit, look fit, and still have a life outside of the gym, you're in the right place. So subscribe to train with me live on Sundays for the AGB 105. Alright, this one is controversial, but it's got to be said. See, whenever we see those ripped and shredded people talking about how many calories they eat, there are 3 big problems. 1, they lie. They do not want to reveal how low they actually go. 2, they are crazy active throughout the day, so yeah, they can eat a bit more. 3, they have way more muscle than the average guy, meaning their calorie burn is way higher. And we've all heard this before. If you just create a calorie deficit of minus 500 calories per day, then over 7 days, this equals 3,500 calories. Boom, 1 pound of fat loss per week. Yeah, it sounds simple, except your body, it does not work like that. And this is where most people get blindsided. Your body is not a static machine, it's a biological system. And when you cut out calories, here's what happens over time. 1, non-exercise activity thermogenesis drops, so you unconsciously move less, fidget less, and your body, it slows down. 2, your thyroid function slows down, so lower T3 and T4 hormones and a lowered metabolic rate. 3, your testosterone drops, and with lower test, you have much worse muscle retention and again, a lowered calorie burn. 4, you're now a lighter person, and as you weigh less, you naturally burn fewer calories. So that 500 calorie deficit, it quickly shrinks to a 500, 300, 200, maybe not even a calorie deficit at all. And even if you are still in a calorie deficit, is it actually enough to see a noticeable change? Probably not. See, after working with hundreds of guys, I can tell you there is no one-size-fits-all calorie range. So instead of stressing over exact numbers, do this instead. 1, track your daily weight. 2, track your daily calories. 3. Track your weekly progress photos. And 4. Adjust your calories based on the feedback that you're seeing. This is the only way to know if your current plan is actually working or if you're just hovering around that maintenance. Your body, it will fight back. It will try to slow fat loss down. So, body composition tracking, you know it's undeniable winner tier. And for more coaching tips, watch my video here.